Hello and welcome to another Replicate Reviews video. Today we're going to be doing a review on a gun that I'm sure a lot of you already know that I'm really into, and it's the Baikal Makarov, or Baikal Makarov, however you want to pronounce it. This one here is the latest one, which I think is the 5th generation Makarov. This is the one that if you go to your dealer now or go to wherever you get your guns from, this will be the one that they supply you with. Now, I'm really excited to get hold of these. Again, our local supplier that we use at the moment is really good at getting the odd guns in. So yeah, we thought we'd get one in. I absolutely love them, so it was a great excuse for me to buy one. And yeah, we'll start the review. Now, as you can see, it comes in the Baikal box. It's pretty much identical to the Viking box in many respects. Quite a nice little sturdy box. Does the job quite nicely. So we'll open it up, and as you can see here, as to be expected really with a Baikal product, it's full of wax paper. They do this with all of their guns. Again, as I said in the Viking video, I think it's probably just to keep them safe and to help with storage. So we'll open this bit up here and we'll have a look at what comes with it. So to start with, they give you the copper BBs or metal BBs. Again, I'll go a little bit into ammo choice later on in the video, hopefully help you out a little bit, because there's certain little things to remember when shooting guns like this. One of them is pellet choice. So that's the first one that you come with, which I thought was a really nice little feature. 200 pellets, or BBs in here, should I say, sorry. Secondly, as with a lot of guns, you get a spare seal. Again, this is a feature that I really like, and it just makes looking after your guns a little bit better. And obviously will hopefully make it last longer. Somewhere in here is a cleaning rod, but I can't find it at the moment, so we'll move on with the rest of the gun. Now, as you can see, it's a lovely looking bit of kit. Hopefully you can see that really nicely in the picture. So what we'll do is we'll just quickly cut the camera, move all the packaging out of the way, and get you some really nice close-up shots of the gun itself. Okay, so here we have the pistol itself. Now that we've got the packaging out of the way, it's really nice and clear for you to see. As you can see from the gun in front of you, it is slightly different to the previous generations in the respect that you do get the wood effect grips. Now, these are only plastic grips, but they're really nice, and the finish on them is also really lovely. On previous generations, you did have to either buy actual Makarov grips, which you could just modify ever so slightly, and they would fit the Baikal replicas, or you just had to put up with the stock ones, which were quite frankly not the best in the world. Now, as you can see, they really do look lovely. To me, they make the gun look a little bit better, and they're a lot more authentic and a lot more true to the original than previous generations have been. So we'll move on from the grips and we'll concentrate on the rest of the gun. Now, unlike a lot of other videos out there, I'm not going to go through and name every single part that is shared with the real steel Makarov, because as I'm sure you're aware, they are made in the same factory in Russia, and they do share a lot of the original parts of the Makarov. Now, as the generations have gone on, the parts shared have also decreased. If you find the Gen 1 or Gen 2 Makarovs, 9 times out of 10 they did use a majority of the parts, with only a few modifications made to the barrel, obviously, the magazine, and a couple of other little small pieces. Now, on this one here, I'm pretty certain one thing that I am sure is shared is the frame, the main lower frame. If it's not, it's incredibly similar, and to be completely honest, I can't tell the difference between the two. Now, another big difference between this Makarov and the previous ones is the finish on the top of the slide here. In other Makarovs, the top was also like a polished finish, as well as the side. Now, in this generation, obviously, as you can see here, hopefully from the light reflecting, it's only the side that shares the polished finish. The top is like a matte, and that's repeated again on the other side, which brings you really nicely to the other main difference between this and other generations, and that is the cutout ejector. On previous models, they've left this in, whereas this one here, they've cut it out. Also, the way that the slide is manufactured as well is slightly different. The newer ones are often a lot thinner than the previous generation Makarovs, but if you'd like, I'll do a separate video where we'll bring in a 2004 Makarov, and I can just show you some of the basic changes and various pieces like that. As far as everything else goes, it is true to the real original. The release catch here is fully functioning. The slide and the safety catch, again, is fully functioning. Now, a really nice feature with the safety catch is that it also acts as a decocker. He says, there we go, it works perfectly. So as it is now, we're in the safe position. Hopefully you'll be able to see. When I push this down, you have the red dot that's exposed. Now, one thing I will say is it's very stiff. Obviously, it's not the most refined construction in the world, so it is fairly stiff. But now we're in the live position, so we can cock this now to make it single action. And as I'm doing that, you can also see that the trigger moves back. Now, a lot of things, or a lot of people use these in firearm construction. You either get a double action or a single action trigger. Now, double action is where you fire it like so. So you're moving the hammer to the back and then you're releasing it like there. Single action is cocking the gun before watching the trigger go back, and then that brings it to the shearing point, and then as soon as I pull the trigger, it'll go like so. Now that gives for a lot smoother trigger pull, and it also makes it a lot, well, I say a little bit more accurate. This is not going to be an accurate gun by any means. I'll go on to explain that in a second, but this definitely isn't going to be a target pistol. The fixed sights, which are microscopic, do make life very difficult in respect to the sighting, but it's not too much of an issue. I absolutely love it. Another really neat feature with this, I'm not going to do it in this video because it'll be sod's law that I get it messed up. You know, this spring won't come out or it won't go in or whatever, but you can field strip this gun by pulling this down, putting it off to one side ever so slightly, and hopefully if I move my hand out of the way, you'll be able to see that all I have to do now is rack the slide back, lift it up, and then guide it forward, and you can field strip the gun much like you would with a real steel Makarov. Now hopefully, there we go, I can put that back in, and that'll make life easier. So we'll move on to the magazine area. Unlike a lot of pistols, rather than using a button on the frame, the Makarovs use a little catch at the bottom. Now you just push that to the back and the magazine slides out like so. Now, unlike on previous Makarovs, where the magazine uses a pistol lanyard attachment point on the bottom of the screw here, this one just uses a little bolt that you just screw up, and then it means that when you're trying to load and unload the magazine, nothing's getting in the way, so you can just hit the button straight away. Now, as if by magic, I've just managed to find this second Makarov magazine. Now, this is off my 2004 one. Hopefully you can see the pistol lanyard point that I'm referring to here. Now, that quite often gets in the way, and, you know, it's a bit of a shame, but it's one of those things. It's easily modified. You can use bolts just to change them. So we'll put that back in. We'll cut to a quick picture of the two Makarovs next to each other, and I'll just go into a few basic differences between the two, but I will do a separate video going into a slightly more in-depth comparison. Okay, so what we have in front of you now is obviously the new Generation 5 Makarov, but we also have an old 2004 one. Now, I've already done a full video review of this, so I'm not really going to go into too much detail for you now. I will do a comparison video at a later point, possibly in a minute once we finish filming this one. But yeah, we'll work that out as we come across to it. Now, as you can see, a few of the differences that I was going into a minute ago, you can see clearly straight off. This Makarov in my left hand here is, in my opinion, a lot more true to the original. It does share a lot more of the original parts. Okay, this is the 2004 one, which I believe was the last of the truly similar ones. I'm still trying to find a Generation 1 Makarov. If you do have one and you'd like to sell it to me, give us an email, because they are incredibly difficult to try and get my hands on. But it is on my list of things to do. So as you can see here, they are two very, very similar guns, the grips being the main difference. You can swap them over, not too much of an issue at all. What I will say is if you've got the older Makarov here, the magazines are not compatible. I have tried swapping them round, but unfortunately they don't fit. You can't swap them over, which is a bit of a shame, but to be completely honest, it's to be expected as manufacturing processes have changed. So what we'll do is move this one back out. If you do want to see a slightly better comparison, I will do a full video at a later point, and hopefully go into some real detail for you there. So we'll just quickly move this one out, zoom it in on the new Makarov, and we'll just quickly summarise the review for you. Okay, so that really concludes the tabletop side of the review. Now, usually I would say that I do an accuracy test and a firing test and all the rest of it, but rightly or wrongly, you know, this might seem a little bit sad to people that don't necessarily collect Makarovs, but I'm never going to fire this one on display in front of you now. It's mainly because I like to try and keep collector's pieces, to try and keep it absolutely immaculate. I'm never going to fire this one. What we are planning to do is buy a second one in that's going to be our little our workhorse. We can fire that. We'll do a review of that, but that won't be for a few months. So you're probably going to see other videos. You'll see a Cybergun GSG 92 or a Swiss Arms 92, whatever you want to call it. An Uzi coming up quite soon, and, you know, a load of other guns, and then we'll go back to the Makarovs. As I'm quite conscious that we do quite a lot of videos on Baikal products, so I just want to split it up a little bit. On the whole though, if you're after an incredibly well-made gun that's possibly one of the most realistic and true to form guns on the market in the UK today, then you really can't go wrong with a Baikal Makarov. For £150 on average, thereabouts, your dealer might charge a little bit more, they might charge less. But you do get an incredibly accurate gun with incredible features. Even if you just want something to hang on a wall or put on a shelf or something, even if you buy a deactivated Makarov, you're looking at about sort of £500, £400 for a deactivated Makarov. So even if you just want something as a display piece, this really is a nice gun to go for. Build quality, I personally believe, is really, really good. I think the attention to detail is incredibly good. Okay, mechanically it might not be the smoothest trigger in the world, and the magazine seal might not be great, but to be completely honest, I think that's completely negligible. And I do see various reviews of people moaning about things like that, but on the whole, compared to a lot of the Taiwanese gun, this is possibly one of the nicest ones I own. They look incredible, they're incredibly true to form. If you look in any picture of a Soviet officer from basically the end of World War II, sorry, up to modern day, one of these isn't going to be too far. Even watching the news recently, we've seen ones being used by not Russian officers in Ukraine. I know there's a bit of contentious points, we'll skip around that, but the point is they're still used even to this day. They're one of the longest serving pistols, actual service pistols in the world to this date. I think closely followed behind the 1911 and the Browning High Power. They're incredible guns. To shoot, it's not the most accurate thing in the world, but we'll cross that bridge in a second video. So, conclude by just saying cheers for watching another one of our videos. If you want to know a little bit more, find us on Facebook, either search Replica Reviews or follow the link below in the description. We've got a lot of really nice high quality pictures of this, along with loads of other mini reviews, and also some Facebook exclusive reviews as well, pellets, ammunition and other guns. So thank you for watching another Replica Reviews video.